Hi, on today's episode I'd like to explain the three electrified vehicles that are available to consumers in the market today. So first of all, we have the hybrid vehicle, which is say like the Toyota Prius or the Nero hybrid or the Ioniq hybrid. Those vehicles have a very small electric battery, about 1.4 kilowatt, which gives them a maximum range of about 4 miles and at very limited speeds. I'm not exactly sure, I think it's about 11 or 12 mile an hour that they can run on full electric before the internal combustion engine can kick in. Now they were designed for cities that have congestion zone charging. So if you travel in and out of London, for example, every day in the city, you'll save the congestion zone. So if you times that over say 300 times a year and times it by 3 years, there's a lot of money to be saved. In the suburbs, they've got very limited appeal. The second class of vehicle is a PHEV, which is a plug-in electric vehicle. Now, these have a battery pack of about 10 kilowatt hours. Some are slightly over, some are slightly below. And they, where they're completely different from the hybrid vehicles, enable you to drive solely on electric power and up to motorway speeds for up to about 30 to 35 miles. Depending on terrain, how you drive and weather conditions. And they obviously will exempt you from the congestion zone charge, but they've been designed for when the big city centres become completely zero emissions. You'll have to drive, say for example, outside London into the centre of London on your internal combustion engine. You then press the button for EV and then you run full EV mode that will allow you to travel into the centre and then back out again on full EV mode without using your internal combustion engine. And then once you're out of the city centre on the way home, you can then re-engage your internal combustion engine and then drive the remainder of the journey on that. Obviously, if you live, say, 12 to 15 mile away from the city centre, you could effectively drive from home to the city centre and back on full electric power without using your internal combustion engine completely, which will save immense amounts of money. However, with the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid vehicles, you will still have to have the car serviced, whether you're using the internal combustion engine or not, because most manufacturers specify you have to have the car serviced at a year to 2 years, 18 months. Every car's different. So whether you're using the oil and the engine at that particular time or not, you'll still have to have it serviced on top of the service that's going to be required for the battery. And then moving on, we then have the BEVs or BEV, which is a battery electric vehicle, which is the vehicle I'm taking delivery of. And these don't have an internal combustion engine at all. Instead, they have a very large battery in between the current generation Leaf, which is a 24 to 30 kilowatt hour Leaf, which effectively gives you between 80 and 120 miles, depending on terrain, time of year and conditions. And then the new generation Leaf, which I'm taking delivery of, which has got a 40 kilowatt hour battery. There is a 60 kilowatt hour battery Leaf that's coming out in 2019, but we don't know about the specs of that particular vehicle yet. So the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf will have a range of about 160 miles, again depending on temperature, driving characteristics, terrain and so forth. But where they solely have an electric motor and just a battery, the only servicing that is involved on that is just for the battery. And obviously the car will inspect drive shafts and other components on the vehicle, but there's no oil changes, filter changes and such forth that you'll get on the plug-in electric hybrid and the hybrid itself. And obviously the BEV or BEV is exempt from the congestion zone charge like the plug-in hybrid and the hybrid before it. One of the things that I like about the BEVs over the PHEVs is they're a lot less complex. So with, like a hybrid, you've still got electrified componentry and the running gear of our traditional internal combustion engines that we're all using now. An EV just has a motor, an inverter and a battery. So it's a lot simplified process in terms of the mechanics that's involved in propelling the vehicle forward, whereas a PHEV, and like a Prius, will still have a transmission. So the plug-in hybrids, some of the systems use a traditional automatic gearbox mated through that whole system. Others use a dual clutch system. Again, although you're probably not going to be using it that much because you're going to be using a mixture of both, I still think it's overcomplicated. I understand why they're doing it, but personally, my own opinion is that you either stick with internal combustion if you can, if you don't live in the city centre where you need that congestion zone to be exempt from the congestion zone. I would actually stick with, if you can make it work, go with BEV.